are tons of exotics in Destiny 2, over 100, and even more ways to build each and every one. But some exotics are better than others. Or are they?
Let's make a build with every single one at a time. This is Destiny Builds A to Z. Aeons is going to be our exotic this time around, and all of this will apply to all three classes builds. So, getting into it, Sect of Force, when landing rapid precision hits, you'll increase your reload and swap speed. And, on a champion or powerful enemy, you will mark the target for your allies to do 20% increased damage. This will last for 30 seconds and will stack with everything, even another debuff. And your allies not using Sect of Force will then get their grenade and melee returned over the course of 3 seconds. Sect of Insight, our other best choice for Aeons, which we'll be using on times where we're the only ones using Aeons, or doubling up when we have a full Fireteam of cult members. Sect of Insight states, when we get successive precision weapon kills, we can drop an overpower for our allies. In addition, when we use a finisher on an elite or higher, we generate special, and on mini bosses, or champions, we will make heavy ammo for the whole Fireteam. Our weapon of choice for our kinetic is going to be Outbreak Perfected. I put rewind rounds on mine. You can put whatever you'd like here, but I found this to be the most synergistic with its perk setup, which is Parasitism. This weapon does more damage to enemies based on the number of Siva nanites that attach to them, which the corrupted spreads. This weapon creates Siva nanite swarms on rapid hits. Due to the nature of this build, it's really easy because our mod setup is going to be mostly the same for all three classes. So on our helmet, we have powerful friends to supply our allies with a charge when we pick up an orb, as well as the heavy ammo finder and scout. On our gauntlets, we have focusing strike to give us a class ability off of melee, and bolstering detonation to do the same off of grenade. Then we have impact induction, so our melee lowers our grenade cooldown. This is just going to provide a nice little synergistic loop. On our chest, we have 2 resistance mods. This can be 15% per element. Then we have a charged up mod, so we can increase the amount of armor charge from 3 to 4. On our boots, we have Bed Already, just to regenerate some health off of an orb pickup. A Harmonic Scavenger, so our heavy can just have a little bit more ammo. And Stacks on Stacks, so when we pick up a source of armor charge, it's doubled. For our class item, we have Reaper, Bomber, and Benevolent Finisher, which off a finisher will provide our allies with a massive orb for nearly 10% total of their super. For our subclass, you can really pick any roaming supers, as the goal with this build is to have a rotation between the 3 Fireteam members casting one after the other finishes to always have a super going. Our dodge ability on Hunter, we're going Acrobat's Dodge, just to be able to access Radiant extremely cheap and stun barriers and get increased damage for our weapons. For our jump, I went Triple Jump. For our melee option, you can really choose whichever one you would like. I just tend to like Knife Trick for its consistency as well as scorching damage. For our grenade, we went with Dustfield Grenade. This is to be able to stun a whole nother champion type, which would be the Overlord champions, for slowing them, or Unstoppables if you can keep them in there to freeze them long enough. For our first aspect, we're going with Status Executioner. This is to make it so that every time we kill something with a debuff active on it, we'll go invisible. Then Winter Shroud, again to be able to stun another champion type, but also on our dodge, we'll then create that little stasis shroud that appears around us, and we can stun champions with that. Our aspects, which will be remaining mostly the same for all 3 classes, we have Awakening, which allows us to create different elemental pickups, depending on what we're killing stuff with. We have Faceted Purpose, so we can gain Woven Mail off an orb pickup due to our super choice being Strand. We have Faceted Protection for the increased damage resist, especially while we're surrounded by targets. Then we have Facet of Hope, so we can get our dodge back quicker while we have an elemental buff, like Radiant. And lastly, Facet of Grace, which will give us our Transcendent state much quicker as we use Outbreak. Our Transcendent Grenade, Half Fire Spike, will freeze and cause ignitions on a target. For our Warlock mods, really the only thing we're swapping out is for a Kinetic Siphon mod on the helmet. Besides that, it's pretty much identical. Then, on our Warlock, we're going to have Song of Flame. You can swap this out again for any roaming super of your choice. For our class ability, we have Healing Rift. This is a preference. Same with Burst Glide. You can just choose whichever you prefer here. For our melee, we have Arcane Needle for its 3 charges, as well as doing a sizable amount of damage and unraveling a target. Then we have Healing Grenade on Warlock. This is to make sure that we have at least some survivability on the class besides just Devour, which is procced by our super. We have Feed the Void, which is what's giving us Devour whenever we get a kill with one of our abilities. Hellion, this is going to make it so when we use our class ability, we'll get a little buddy that's going to be shooting fireballs and causing targets to eventually ignite. Facet of Ruin is the only swap that we're making here on our fragments. And Freezing Singularity is our Transcendent Grenade, which is going to cause void damage and cause targets to freeze. On our Titan, I'm using Blade Fury, again just for the Woven Mail. You can choose any roaming super here. Rally Barricade, this is just another preference. I think it just provides the most utility. Strafe Lift is also my preference on our jump. I'm using Hammer Strike, this is because it can cause an ignition and stun an additional champion type for us. Pulse Grenade, which is going to be able to cause Jolt, and is a really strong grenade overall. Knockout, so that way when we do get a melee kill, we're not doomed and we can actually get our health back immediately. It's also going to make us amplified when we do cause a melee kill. For our second aspect, we have Unbreakable. This is to make it so that we can use our grenade in order to save a teammate, get closer, and just really just increase our survivability on Titan. For our fragment, we're swapping out a couple things here. Facet of Dominance, which will make it so that our grenade jolts, and then Facet of Defiance, so this is when we're getting finishers, we'll actually scorch targets, or in our case, we'll unravel targets. And our Transcendent Grenade is going to be Electrified Snare, which will jolt and suspend targets, allowing us to stun multiple champions. For our synergy chart, Aeons is really just creating super orbs and more heavy so we can generate our supers as fast as possible as a Fireteam. Each super has its own unique champion stunning capabilities, the niche cases being Stormcaller only jolts on the Lightning Bolt for its initial cast, and that no super actually stuns barrier champions, unfortunately. To finally get into the gameplay here, I wanted to start out with the Hunter point of view. So this is going to be your marking targets everything for your teammates to be able to, you're like the shot caller essentially. So as you can see, we're all using our Outbreak Perfected in order to be able to just drill into targets, and Voidlock there went ahead and generated us some super ammo, even right off the cuff. So this is in a Grandmaster Nightfall. I just wanted to show the initial part of the Grandmaster Nightfall because we didn't have our supers yet, and really just how quickly we're generating said supers. So we always have heavy, and we always are able to just cast our super right into Radiant, as well as casting my super here. And the goal of the person using their super at that moment is not to kill the champions, as you need somebody else to finish them. So you just want to leave them weak so your ally can get the finish off and give you some more heavy ammo. So, and you can make your teammates Radiant by being the Hunter, and make sure that your allies are doing a little bit more damage, and you can see Void Cal go ahead there and stun one of the champions with his initial super cast. And then you can go in and get the finisher once it's weak. Same thing for the Warlock POV, where it's going to be essentially the same as if you're a Titan. So you just kind of run in, and as long as you have the right Sect on, you should be the one finishing your enemies and generating the special ammo and heavy for your team. You can see he cast that to get his Hellion, and he's constantly already starting to scorch his targets. And he's just drilling into these targets regardless of whether he can stun them or not. And you can see just how quickly he already is close to his super. The Healing Grenade allowing him to stay alive a little bit longer. And then he's obviously using something else to jolt there, but we're able to just use our heavies so freely. So you want to use something bursty, like a heavy GL or a rocket launcher or something along with this build. So you can see when I'm stunning that champion or lowering its health of his champion, he can go in for the finisher and generate himself special and some heavy, and then there he is from his perspective, stunning the champion as well as killing the boss at the same time. The buff to these supers is just so potent. But thanks for watching, and I really appreciate it. You make it to the end.